All right. So, welcome, Hugo. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank
And
you.
congrats on completing 100 projects with Kolabtree.
Thank you.
Uh, incredible achievement. So, on behalf of everyone at Kolabtree, congrats. And you've been with us for quite a long time. And we hope that, the next 100, I'm pretty sure it's going to be much faster than the first 100. Now that you're extremely comfortable with the platform,
Yeah,
you take up regular projects. So, your thoughts, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. This has been like a really good journey for me. Um, the past 2 years have been really been challenging, but I like that in terms of the economy, how it goes. But Kolabtree has been really great for me in terms of finding work, meeting people, uh, pay for my survival in a sense. So it's been really good to me to be working with Kolabtree.
Brilliant. And thanks. I mean, again, I repeat, thank you from us as well. Because you've taken up a lot of important projects on Kolabtree and it's been really incredible, like, the whole journey. So, I mean, on that note, let's start at the beginning. Like your journey, how did it start? Like, how did you sign up on Kolabtree? How did this whole freelancing start?
Yeah, so with the pandemic, my contract was not renewed. I was working at the university as a teacher, and the contract was not renewed. So I had to find work to pay for rent and to support my family. So I started looking into freelance online work, and I found Kolabtree. It was the first time I read about Kolabtree was on a natures.com email newsletter that I saw the interview of the creator, of the founder of Kolabtree, and I found it really interesting. And once I got into the situation of not having a work and not having like this regular paycheck that I was used to, I had to find other options. And Kolabtree was just there, and I started bidding on making proposals on projects that were really interesting. I didn't get the first job after like 1 or 2 months after I started bidding, but after I start winning projects, then I never stop. Um, and after a while, I reached 100 projects, and it was just like a blink of an eye, you know. And it was really interesting. Most of the projects went really well. The clients like the work that I've done for them, and I also was really excited about most of the work that I had to do because I really enjoy like having different tasks to do week after week, not doing repetitive work. So this really fitted me well in terms of uh, work and also lifestyle. It's really interesting to have this lifestyle because you are kind of your own boss. You make the hours the way you want. You can work from home, so you have time to spend with family. So there's a lot of uh, upsides in this type of work personally, and that I think that it fitted me so well. That's why I have so many projects also, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing turn of events because, like you mentioned, the first 2 months, you haven't landed a single project, and then you land your first, and then it kind of snowballed from there. And now you're probably at a position where you can, prioritize which project do I like, things like that, and the lifestyle
Yeah.
as well. You mentioned that's amazing. So can you tell our audience what are the skills you offer on Collabtree? Like, what is the expertise that you bring to the table?
So the main jobs that I applied are related with food science and technology. But I'm a chemical engineer, uh, and I have experience in manufacturing in industrial field, but I also have experience in academia. So I kind of have experience in both fields, which gives me an array of skills that might not be easy to find. You know, I also accumulate almost 20 years of experience, not only on food science but also on material science, because I have a PhD on material science and engineer. So there's like these three fields that can be connected in some spots, like the food science, the material science, and also the chemical engineer. And since I have also worked in pharmaceutical companies, I kind of get this experience from four different fields that allows me to bid on projects that require the multitasking in this type of or have this type of demands.
Yeah, I think that's incredible because the diversity that you've just listed, you know, and clubbed onto the fact that you mentioned that you have like academia experience as well, right? So that's like like you said, a really diverse set of skills and expertise. So in terms of working on projects, like, you know, the high impact projects that you take up on Kolabtree, like, uh, can you list like a few examples where, you know, like this diversity has helped you?
Yeah, I landed the project that I had to do like this pasta. It was a really interesting one, because of the specifics of the pasta. I don't want to get into much details about the project, but it kind of needed me to understand really well the material science of it, because pasta is like an extrusion. It's like a similar method that you do plastics. Um, but you also need to understand the food science of it, and how the different ingredients mix and are extruded, you know. So this was like one of those projects that really relied on different skills, formulation, food science, equipment, material science in a sense, plastification, and so it kind of required the knowledge on those areas, and it was really helpful to know that, to achieve a good final product. Um, and yeah, there were other projects where I needed to have like these skills. Also, I've worked with products that were borderline food science and material science, like for example, an adhesive that I had to do um, for a company that wanted to glue edible polysaccharides. So in there you go. So it's like edible, so it's kind of food science, but since you have to prepare an adhesive, it's like material science. And once you have to scale it, my background in chemical engineering, in industrial, uh, it kind of guides me into creating solutions that are scalable, that people can actually do in an industrial environment. So I filter out the methods that are not scalable. So it could be easy to do something that's in the lab, you know, but I also always take in consideration if I could do it in a large scale. So that's why I kind of filter out all the methods that are not scalable, and only apply the ones that are scalable. So those backgrounds can come together, and they provide value to the client, that which is the most important thing, is to provide client. Of course, it's really hard to from a consultant standpoint, and from freelance work, it's really hard to provide like the final product to the client. But we can do is like provide value, so the client take it to the next level with our guidance, with our work.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point because so you're in this, usually the projects you get hired for, like it's at the formulation stage, right? And so do you keep in touch with the client to understand how exactly your input has added value in terms of the next steps of the process? Does that happen
Yeah,
usually?
absolutely. The good thing about Kolabtree is that once you can do the work for the client, but you kind of leave the channel open if the client won't, you know. So because the projects are on the website, even if we transaction, I give the project to the client and they pay me, but the connection is still open. So in the next steps, sometimes some clients they ask for more information, or they are on the different level, a different phase of the work. They also ask for some guidance in that new stage. So it's kind of interesting, because sometimes you actually see the project going forward and going to market, and you kind of go with the client in that different phases. So it's really interesting to do that, you know. Sometimes you do the formulation, or you take the idea from the client, you provide the formulation they need, you provide the methods they need to get from a co-packer, or even the methods they need to do in their homes to get the prototype, so they eventually get financing. um, and that's it. And the project stays there, and the client takes it to somewhere else. um, but yeah, it's been really interesting to see the development of different projects in the long term.
Yeah, it sounds so intricate, right? And like I think that's the sort of USP that we try to offer as well, right? We always say Kolabtree is where you can find these consultants and freelance scientists with really niche skills, like things that you clients might not necessarily be able to find in universities or online other online platforms. To that, and uh, what are your thoughts on some niche skills that these independent freelancers can offer potential clients?
They can offer expertise on exactly what they need. What I have to let me explain this, because some clients, they come to me and they read a lot of things online. So there's a lot of information in the forums, in uh, more or less reliable content on different web pages, but it's never specific of their product. So if someone, an entrepreneur, is trying to get into the market with some food product, or the type of product, if they rely on the internet for scientific advice, it's not going to go well for them, because it's not specific of their work, and sometimes there's contradictory information. So I what I recommend is it's hire some specialist to guide you, having your work. You should really care about, if you are an entrepreneur and you have like this really good idea, I think you should make a good investment on having the right minds working on your project, because execution is really key for the success of startups and small businesses. So execution, it's really important, and the people that can execute the best, the better for your product or your project. So why rely on internet advice, or why rely on people that don't have the expertise? So if the experts are available and are like the stretch of your hand, why not use them to do a perfect execution of your project and have success? So I feel that the hiring of freelancers, scientists, it's like shifting the needle towards the success, and that could be really key for product or project or new venture. In Kolabtree offers an array of different specialists in different areas. I think it's easy to find someone there that really matches your skill set or what you need for your project. So why take time trying to get advice from the internet, from forums, when you can get advice from specialists that will look at your project with care and will give you exactly what you need.
Yeah, I think that phrase you used was like spot on, like, the needles like shifting, because I think earlier clients, they would probably go to like the closest university, or they look for someone in their own circles. Maybe even LinkedIn, they might try to find an expert. But then what happens is schedules, budgets, there's a lot of criteria. I'm pretty sure you must have negotiated a lot with clients before you embark on a project. And of course, this whole pandemic has made it like a lot easier in terms of companies acknowledging remote working, things like that, using
Absolutely.
experts such as yourself to test ideas, right? So where do you see this going? What are the changes you noticed, and where do you see this trend progressing to?
I think that this trend is here to stay, mostly because this generation of people of workers are different than previous generations, and because this new generation is so tech savvy, they use computers like they use they are really they use computers with ease in these new forms of communications, and so I believe that this trend is here to stay. I think that this new generation don't like repetitive work. They like to be challenged in different ways. So I see when I look at the future, I believe that there will be still some works that you have to be there, but the gig economy, I think it's here to stay. There's always positives, there's always negatives in everything, but with the dawn of the technology, with computers and remote working, I think that this is here to stay in terms of work environment. Yeah, I think it's going to be the next generation is going to define it, and probably we'll have more and more and more freelancing, remote working, and this type of more flexible work scheduling and work environments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, the new era entrepreneurs are extremely tech savvy, and they know where exactly to find the right talent. And also in terms of these traditional organizations, and a lot of that, of course, encompasses medtech companies, biotech companies, healthcare, food science companies, which can benefit from experts such as yourself. Do you think their mindset is also changing, like slowly, maybe, but gradually?
I think so, because look, these companies, they are renewing themselves. Even the employees that they have, the new managers that come, they kind of have are more how I say this, they see the shift. The people at my age, 40 years old, they kind of are in the middle of the old generation or the previous generation, the new generation, and they see the benefits of this new generation, and we have to adapt to this new generation, and so I believe that the companies in the future will rely more on this type of work, because there's a lot of economical positives into this. Sometimes you have like the seasonalities work, season work that you really need to do, and you don't want to hire a person to be all year round just waiting for that peak of work. So you can hire people to do that peak of work at that time. That time. So I think there's a lot of positives into this type of work, and companies will understand those positives and try to provide ways to diminish the drawbacks. There's always drawbacks. It's really hard for a company to implement a culture with everybody working remotely. It's really hard for a company to build internal capacity, intellectual capacity, if everyone is a freelancer. So I understand these drawbacks, but companies, they can get they can try to figure out ways to reduce these drawbacks, or make these drawbacks like something out of it, something positive of it. So yeah, I think that in the future the companies will adapt and will see the benefits of having at least, not all of course, but at least a good part of their workforce, just like freelancing, and in platforms like Kolabtree can provide excellent collaboration to those companies, providing freelancers for them to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, these companies are like slowly looking at the advantages that these online platforms like talent networks can offer. Like, like you said, why have someone around at all times when, you could get someone on a flexible contract if the work is limited. So, I mean, I have an interesting question for you. If you had a person, if you're having a chat with a person who is hiring for experts such as yourself, but they were more keen on an in-house resource, what would you tell them? Like, how would you, what would you tell them to bring them around to your way of thinking?
To have someone work as a freelancer?
No,
If
no, if
sorry,
you,
I didn't understand the question.
that's all right. No, I'll repeat the question. So if you were having a chat with someone who was hiring experts such as yourself, right?
Mhm.
But he or she, they're more keen to bring in-house resources rather than freelancers. What would you tell them? Let's say they were completely oblivious to the freelancer ecosystem, right? So what would you tell them?
I would tell them that you probably can find someone, real a good expert that will not have adaptation problems, and can provide value after like the moment they bring into the team, and with different ideas from different experiences, rather than someone internal that sometimes it's not motivated for the work, or sometimes it's just like inside that box and cannot see the different solutions. So probably bringing in a specialist, a freelance specialist, could bring new ideas to the team, and it's not, and it's just going to be hired for that work, so they don't have to rely only on them. So they can hire specialists this month, and next month they can hire another specialist, bring new ideas, new fresh ideas that provide value immediately. So if someone really needs some new ideas, some new out of the box inputs into their business, hiring a freelancer, a specialist, it's going to be, can provide almost immediate value for those, even to solve issues or problems within their companies. An internal person, of course, you can train them, and they can become a specialist also, but that takes time. So bringing someone from the outside can really provide value almost immediately.
I think that's an incredible point, especially the fresh ideas that you mentioned. That happens to all of us, right? Like at some point, we just like go into this singular way of thinking, and having someone
Exactly.
fresh, like where you can bounce off ideas, test. I mean, especially companies that need to test innovative ideas. I think like having
Exactly.
that fresh perspective really helps. And I'm just wondering, have you had conversations like these with a prospective client inside the Kolabtree platform, maybe during the exchanges leading up to the final hiring? Like, just interested to know how the conversation shapes up. What are the aspects the client talks to the freelancers about before hiring?
Usually the conversations with the clients are more focused on the project itself rather than the role of the scientist. So usually when I get a client, and I'm going to be pretty straightforward with this, when I have a meeting with the client, 90% of the chances that I'm going to be hired by the client. So there's no much convincing the client to hire me, because if they are using the platform, they are kind of convinced that they want to hire someone. So the meeting is more like understanding the project well, getting to know each other, which I think it's valuable, but it's not much about convincing the client to hire me, because Kolabtree already did that work with having them or providing like or having a project on the website, so they kind of are already convinced. But sometimes we have to convince them to moving forward with us in terms of doing more work in the future. So usually when that happens, um, we kind of show the positives and what we can bring to the table in the next phases of the project, and that's the point where we need to convince them of not having someone from nearby with to apply our ideas, but still have yes for guidance. I think I answered your question. Not sure if I was clear about it.
No, no, exactly. No, I agree, because first impressions are lasting, right? I mean, there could be a client, like a first-time client, who like probably wants to just bounce off a few ideas, but then it's up to the freelancer, and like it's up to the platform to sort of convince him or her to come back for repeat projects. So it's, I mean, it's completely do with the first hire, the first interaction. So yeah, that's a great point. Anything else about like any interesting projects you've taken up? Of course, you worked on the famous Vegan X project,
Yes, yeah.
which was featured in CNBC. Anything similar to that you
Yeah,
look back and think,
I had a couple of clients trying to do similar projects, um, but not as but they weren't as successful as the PEGS project was. But yeah, I had some other projects that were similar, um, and really interesting. Most of the projects that I've worked on Kolabtree, to be honest, they were really interesting. I have like this in 100 projects, of course, not all of them were like amazing, but most of them were. I can remember a project that I do a cat litter for an entrepreneur in uh, Thailand, and it was a really interesting project because it was nothing like the other type of projects where I take the input from the client and then I give a report and they go do the report and do the instructions or the formulations. In this project, it was really interesting because we were kind of back and forward. So we had like 30 minutes, 1 hour meetings, and he told me what were the challenge he was facing, and I kind of worked on those challenges and get back to him. So we had like these meetings for every week. We had like this 1 hour 30 minutes meeting, and the projects were more like those meetings. And in the final, he was really successful, already like sold. um, at the time when he paid me, he had sold half a ton of cat litter. So it was really interesting project because I saw the immediate impact of the work, and that was a really interesting project to work. But there's many more interesting projects that I've worked on, you know, from protein bars to vegan eggs to gummies, vegan gummies to there were a lot of different ones. Also, there's a lot of work regarding new trends in the US with THCs and CBD. There's a lot of work there. So I think that I provide some value to that field also already. In yeah, I can't remember the question anymore, but
No, I
but
think I think this sort
I've
of
worked on really interesting projects. There were a lot more that I wanted to work on, but unfortunately I didn't have a chance, or probably went to other experts. But yeah, it's been really good for me. And there's
no, I,
also projects that don't work well, you know, that we try to provide value with formulations and or other methods, and they just didn't work. And sometimes the client gets frustrated, and it's all good. It's all good. The client can close the project and have their money back, and it's all good, you know. We cannot be 100% successful. That's not something that I look to be 100%. I always looking to give my best, but sometimes things just don't work well.
yeah, I think just give me 1 second. I think there's an issue with my audio. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. No, I think this ties back nicely with your initial point, where you mentioned the diversity and the lifestyle that this is sort of afforded you, right? Like working on different kinds of projects and the variety of projects that you just described. I'm pretty sure working on a diverse range of projects on an everyday basis is, I mean, it's just much more fun, right? Like, I mean, for you to wake up and think about the different kinds of things you're about to do through Kolabtree. Towards that end, like, what was something that you like really loved working on? I know you just mentioned the project from Thailand. Any project on a smaller scale that you just absolutely had fun working on?
Yeah, I have a lot of fun when I have to work with shelf life of products, and things align really well, you know, because sometimes it's something that I've worked on academia for so long with the shelf life of products, and to be able to apply that into different products, it's really been great, you know. There's like cookies, for example, that we need to improve the texture with the shelf life, and I've worked on those cookies to have a longer shelf life. So it's been some projects like that that are really interesting. Even like for pet food, I've worked a lot on shelf life for pet food, and it's not the same as human, but it's also like challenging and interesting to work on. Advising on packaging is also really fun to do, because you need that skills on material science, and understand how it influences the product inside the package. So I've worked with that for a pet company that are selling like a freeze drying product, and they wanted some advice on the packaging, and that was really fun because I had to make all the calculations to see like the moisture barrier that they need. So those type of projects, they are really interesting to work on. I've also worked on this project that was really interesting. For example, they were mints that were that they wanted the mints to change the pH inside your mouth, so you don't have like an environment good for bacteria. So I had a lot of volunteers that add the mints. I have to do the mint and then give to the volunteers, and then measure the pH inside their mouth. So it was like also a lot of fun, because I had to interact with people, and still I had to rely on some of my, so I had this really interesting work that I had to do, this project where I had to do mints, and the purpose of those mints were to change the pH inside the mouth of the client. And I had to produce the mints and measure the pH with volunteers, give them into a volunteer, and then measure the pH of the volunteer's mouth. And that project kind of requires different skill sets, not only the formulation, the client provided the formulations, but I had to do the tableting of those formulations to produce the mints. And then it also like needed my skill set on chemical science, because I had to measure the pH and make some calculations. So it was kind of really interesting work to do. And we did different campaigns with a lot of volunteers, and that was also really interesting for me, because I had to meet a lot of people. My wife is a dentist, so we had the laboratory to have the volunteers and do all the work, so that also aligned really well for the project. This type of things that happened in the last 2 years that were like really interesting in my life, to have like these different roles and different tasks that I had to do. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey.
Yeah, sounds incredibly interesting as well. I almost wish I was a scientific consultant listening to your stories. Uh, I mean, on that note, since you're one of our most experienced freelancers, what tips or advice or insight would you offer freelancers that are just signing up on Kolabtree?
Yeah, I had some people, some scientists asking me to meetings for advice. I already gave advice to one-on-one for some up to become a freelancer scientist. But I really the advice that I give is read the project details, make a good case for their projects. Really try to bring value from the 0 month moment, for the clients to see how much you understand their project, and how much you can improve their project and add value to the project. So don't try to think that, okay, I'm going to solve this for the client. Try to think in a different way. Try to think that I'm going to work with the client to provide value for their project. So I'm not trying to solve anything and just deliver. I'm trying to bring something new to the table, and something that they can work towards and move and be successful with their work. So really read the description, and if the description of the client doesn't have much information, just try to fill out the gaps for the client, to see how or where they can achieve or where they can get with their product. Try to have tools that schedule meetings really fast, because if you get into a meeting with the client, it's going to be like your successful rate of hiring is going to increase a lot. So that back and forth with oh, when are you available? What's your time zone? And that back and forth, it's not going to be helpful. So have a tool that really allows you to schedule a meeting easily with the clients. That I think that was something that helped me a lot, because the clients, they could schedule a meeting with me easy. They don't have to ask me when I'm available, when I'm not available. And that's something that I already recommend Kolabtree to have. Is something like a schedule of the freelancer, the scientists, so the companies, they go there and they easily schedule a meeting with the clients. They can easily schedule a meeting with the client, but sometimes they don't know the viability of that meeting, so they don't want to waste time scheduling meetings that are not going to be successful. So have a tool like that. It's really important. Be nice, engage with the client. Those things are just like the basics.
Yeah, I think that helped me as well. I mean, when we collaborated on a project, like I could instantly just go to your calendar and schedule a meeting with you. I think that was really handy. And
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the, uh, the key factors that to have so many hirings could have been that one. I don't know if other scientists use it, but I believe that the easiness of scheduling a meeting and engage with the client and engage with the scientist, that was really fundamental for me to have so many projects.
yeah, exactly. And any thoughts on the psychological aspect as well? I mean, earlier you mentioned how for the first couple of months you didn't get a project, but you kept persisting until you got that first project, right? So, any sort of insight on the psychological aspects and how to get past that for a freelancer that's probably just signing up?
Yeah, the freelancer must understand that what I think that I didn't get many projects in the beginning because I wasn't so aware of um, providing a good project proposal to do all those engagements. So I wasn't aware that was important for me to hire. Don't rely only on your curriculum, on your expertise. Also rely on your project proposal. So in the beginning, it was kind of a shift for me, because I believe that my curriculum or my experience was enough to get hired, and I wasn't so perfect at my proposal. I wasn't perfect in my engagement with the client. And after I started doing that, seeing some YouTube videos about those type of things that help me to provide a better project proposal, a better engagement with client, and I think that was the difference of not being hired and being hired. In terms of the psychological effects, you have to be persistent. You have to and what was my options, because I didn't have a job, so I didn't have other option of not. I just had to be resilient, so I didn't have much option, in yeah. After a while of being patient, I got rewarded.
Yeah, I think, and this is where the journey is like, you've reached a brilliant milestone right now, 100 projects. So
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to? What next in your journey with Kolabtree?
Uh, my it's to keep working for Kolabtree. I already have a lot of uh, clients that are more like fixed clients. So I don't rely as much on bidding on projects as I did before, but now I can also try to think of having like some sort of company, of a freelance company, where I can provide uh, like more disconnection to the clients in the platforms, in other people around me that can do the work for the clients. So honestly, in at the moment I have all those ideas, but what I'm still going to do is just do what I have been doing for the past 2 years, like bidding on projects and try to bring value to the client, and just keep working on that way.
Yeah, I think like doing those basics right. I think that's the foundation, right? And is there? I mean, I had this question, like whilst you were describing these repeat clients that you have. So, what are the differences in approach in terms of how you probably communicate with the repeat client? And let's say, for example, like a completely new client that you're working for the first time, in terms of the milestones you set, like how differently do you approach these scenarios?
with a client that's already going for a long time. It's different because you kind of, when you have a client for a long time, you kind of become almost a colleague or a friend. So it's much easier to identify what's next and what's the next steps, and set the milestones. With the new client, there's like this thing about milestones in Kolabtree. I usually don't work with those milestone as much as probably I should do. I don't know, because I really like to do almost all the work at the initial stage, and then have the client deciding on what's next in terms of what they need, you know. So it's kind of different, because there's like this client on Kolabtree that each week we have like these different tasks for me to do, and I give a report, and it pays me for that report, and it's really good because I see the project growing. But there are other clients that they just want to for me to deliver like this huge chunk of work, and then they decide if they want to move to the next one or not. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but there's like I cannot tell you it's always like this, because we have like different clients that have like different work and different ways to go about it. So it's really hard for me to tell it, oh, it's always like this, because it's not. It's always different, and I think that's the good part of it. It's that it's always different and it's always fun. And
Yeah.
some clients they want to work as fast as possible. Some other clients are more laid back and want to extend the relationship more. So it's always different, and that's why it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds fun as well. I have a really interesting question for you. So, I mean, I think we've spoken a lot about how you offer a diverse range of skills, and also the projects you take up are pretty diverse. But then, um, do you have any skills that you would ideally be like to be hired for more? Maybe you have this one niche skill that you probably don't find many projects suiting that skill on Kolabtree, but you would ideally love to, use that skill. Is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
anything?
I have something that I'm really passionate about working with. That's spray drying. That's a method, an industrial method to do powder. There's a lot of
Oh,
products. There's some projects, not many, but there are some projects on Colabtree regarding producing powders. Um, a lot of clients, they want to just mix powders and have the product, and sometimes that's not feasible. You actually need some sort of equipment to mix everything and produce the powder product. It's spray drying or um, similar methods, and it's not something easy to find. But it's just exactly what my expertise, what I would say my expertise were, or is, because I even have a machine available to do the powders. So I can not only work on the scientific or the report aspect, but I can also do prototypes really easily. So it's something that I really wanted to work more on, and I already found some projects. There's like this project on Colabtree that I keep bidding, um, but the client keeps saying that doesn't work with me because I'm not in the US, and he wants to work with someone in the US. And I think that it's his lost, because I work with other clients in the US and I produce powders for them. So I don't understand why this client, it just doesn't meet with me, and I think it's lost. So it's exactly what I wanted to work on, but sometimes I just don't get the work, the job, or not get
yeah.
hired.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things we spoke about, like people, I think these companies will slowly come around to this whole remote idea of working as well. So hopefully good luck on that project I hope you get it
Thank you.
sometime in the future.
Thank
And I think that reminds me, like some time ago, you had mentioned that you flew on site to the client's office to work on something. Can
Yes.
you talk to us about that?
Yeah. The client asked me to go to the US. He rented some space at the University of Illinois and wanted me to work there because we were having some issues of sending a product to me. So I went on site to work with the product the with the product of the client, and it was really fun. I worked for 4 days there at the laboratory, and I just worked for the clients those 4 days in the lab. And I think that we created some products that can be really good for the client in the future.
Brilliant. Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. So
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions I had. Anything from your side? Anything for Kolabtree?
I,
I
I
mean, any
think I think
suggestions as well, like,
yeah,
if you have.
we've been having these talks for a long time. I feel that Kolabtree should keep improving. Just like all the scientists that are on board with Kolabtree, they keep studying, they keep improving their skills to provide more value to the clients. I think that Kolabtree should follow the same and try to improve their what they are offering. I think that Kolabtree should really understand what are the drawbacks of having a gig economy regarding the companies, what they perceive as drawbacks. For example, you've worked, or you mentioned a lot about confidentiality and data. So that's something that Kolabtree should be aware and try to improve. Also trying to find some ways to because company culture, it's like something that really decreases with the gig economy and the freelancers. So even having like some sort of rooms for companies inside the Kolabtree where they can allocate different sciences to a room. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I believe that Kolabtree can improve in terms of what they offer to the clients, and they just have to look what are the drawbacks of having freelancers into companies and try to mitigate those drawbacks and try to minimize those drawbacks and improve every work environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what they're striving for, like day after day. And of course, like I'm just an email away. Any thoughts that you might have, feel free to send
Sure.
them across. And this confidentiality thing, I mean, I just like thought of it whilst you were elaborating on it. So in terms of these negotiations with clients, these back and forths before you get hired, how do you approach these conversations about confidentiality, data security?
Well, usually the clients you are already aware of having an NDA signed with the scientist. If they are, sometimes they don't remind it, but I remind them, let's sign an NDA before our meeting. Um, or at the first meeting, we just keep the conversations in a high level. Look, I it's something that's in the back of our minds, but it's something that I will not. I well, for me it's key. The client confidentiality is key. So I'm never going to disclose sensitive information. So yeah, it's I think it's good to have an NDA signed so we can feel free to talk. The client feels free to talk, and it's full transparency. But it's something that I would not challenge. It's to the client's confidentiality work or confidential work. So I think it's really important. In yeah, the Kolabtree should do everything in their should do everything to keep the confidentiality of the comments.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Perfect, Hugo. I think we've covered everything that I wanted to, and it was great to hear your feedback as well. So let me just stop
Thank you, Naren. This
recording.
was amazing.
Yeah, let me just stop recording for a second.